My name's Tim Skelton. I am the manager for the, I'll get this right, Leicester-Loughborough Lifestyle Diet and Physical Activity BRU, which is the third of the Holy Trinity of BRUs in Leicester. I have to confess, as we start, I'm probably what you would refer to as an end user. So I probably don't have anything, if I may use the term, geeky to offer you, but possibly just some questions and some requirements. So what I want to do is blast you through our BRU and give you sort of some headlines and then maybe just some questions that we've got from where we are. Like the rest of the biomedical research units in Leicester, we started life in April. Unlike the other two biomedical research units in Leicester, we are partnered for the majority with Loughborough University, with their School of Sport, Health and Exercise Medicine, if I've got that right. Forgive me if I haven't. Yes, I have. Good. So we're sort of tripartite, as much as we also have investigators, and our director, principal investigator, Melanie Davis, is part of the University of Leicester. So we're in a sort of a new place, which is great and it's really exciting. In part, Rob's already answered this question, so that might sort of save me having to sort of go through what a BRU is all about and what it's there for. But essentially, we're looking at sort of disease high priority areas. So you'd expect them to be cardiovascular, respiratory, lifestyle, diet, nutrition. I think we've talked about gastro as well. And again, previous speakers just talked about infrastructure. I guess our partnership has taken the view that actually we're going to go for the science and the studies rather than the infrastructure. So if you were to look at our sort of cost and sort of money allocation, it's mostly about people in our BRU. But the aim's the same. So small research groups at the forefront of their field to achieve critical mass and sort of groundbreaking stuff. This is probably not unfamiliar to most of you as well, so forgive me for preaching to the converted. Translational research, so really good ideas, but often they fall down the big hole before they ever get into clinical practice or before we ever get to do the good thing for the patients at the bedside. So biomedical research units are all about seeing whether we can bridge this translation gap and get the good ideas to the bedside to make an improvement and impact practice. I've already alluded to the major sort of priority areas for the BRUs. In the previous round of funding, if I remember rightly, we didn't actually exist in terms of nutrition, diet and lifestyle. You can see we're kind of here. So we're a relatively new thing along with dementia. So the Leicester-Loughborough, I'm going to call it Lifestyle BRU because it's just easier. Essentially have two research themes, one of which is around extending the boundaries of physical activity research from sitting-related sedentary behaviour to vigorous intensity exercise. So basically the take-home message there is chairs are bad, you should be standing up. The second theme is around physical activity and appetite regulation, nutrition, so we do a lot of stuff around gut hormones and appetite, as it suggests, regulation. Both of those themes are sort of focused at the moment on sort of diabetic patients, because that's kind of where our expertise is in Leicester. That notwithstanding, there are clearly cross-cutting themes with cardiovascular, because physical activity and health is relevant to cardiovascular, it's also relevant to respiratory. So I would imagine in the fullness of time, maybe 2-3 years down track, we will be having sort of extended discussions about how we might implement some of our interventions with the other sort of disease areas. And then within that, we also have quite a lot of expertise and experience with BME groups and young adults, which again, relevant to our two partner biomedical research units in Leicester. So that's theme one. What are we doing? Well, and this one is probably sort of relevant to the discussion we've been having for most of today. So this is the data question. I'll chunk it right up because I'm not very good at detail. This is the data question, and most of our data that's derived from our research subjects over the last 10 years has probably come from PCT's GP data. So whereas our other colleagues have a real interest in inpatient data, we have a real interest in GP data. So one of the questions for me and for us is, how do we get GP data into the big data warehousing, data repositories, and can we do it in an automated fashion? I don't know the answer to it, it's a question. Our group also has about 10-year history of publishing off the data sets that we have. So in terms of what we have with the diabetes group, we've got a population of about 10,000 subjects over the last 10 years that we sort of gathered together. And I think we've got a reasonable sort of publishing history off the back of that. But obviously what we want to be able to do is push on and do some more work with that. So a tool that would help us with that, and maybe that's I2B2 as part of the Brisket suite of things, could be really, really useful for us, but we're still at early stages of trying to work out whether that is the right thing for us to do or not. Work package 2, the chair is bad, that's all I need to say about that really. Work package 3, lots of interest in high intensity activity, so rather than going for a 45-minute run, can you do it in 3 minutes? I don't know, it's just a question. Novel measurement technology. So can we measure sedentary behaviour? Because we know there's a correlation between sitting in front of TV, but that's actually, we think it's probably a cluster of activities. So can we measure it? Can we measure it better? Can we put pressure pads in the bottom of your feet and measure it? What do we do with the data? I don't know. But another question, does that fit into the bricks thing? Can we do something with that data? I don't know. Second theme is about physical activity, appetite regulation, nutrition. So I guess more traditionally, more classically lab-based stuff. So we are gathering lots of samples from patients undergoing bariatric surgery. There's quite a lot of interest in adipose and visceral fat tissues. So we need some way of measuring, well, measuring firstly, but also then curating that data. So you know, we collect height and weight from these people. We collect a sample. We need to shove it somewhere. We need to shove it somewhere in an organised fashion. From early discussions and what we've looked at, I suspect that something like CA tissue would probably work for that kind of thing. But again, my experience in the cardiovascular BRU, where I used to manage, has been around genetic data. So is it possible to configure CA tissue for other types of stuff other than genetic data? Nodding head over there, that's good, excellent. Maybe you're falling asleep, I don't know, sir. So these are some of the things that I've already alluded to, just to give you a real sort of broad brush of the science, the things that we are about and where the fit is. But again, like I say, this is traditionally sort of our sort of lab, I guess, end of the research that we're involved in. Other things that I probably just want to draw your attention to is that the Lifestyle Biomedical Research Unit is actually part of a wider group called the Leicester Diabetes Centre. And one of the real strengths of the Leicester Diabetes Centre is that we've got the very early translational lab end of stuff, and we have an infrastructure which means that we can pull that right the way through to implementation. So we work quite closely with Clark. We've got a lot of EME programme grants as well, and we also have some BMJ learning. So we're quite fortunate is that we think we can, or we know we can pull our discovery right through into implementation fairly quickly. So this really is just more about sort of the intervention work that we're involved in. A lot of the work is focused around prevention and early detection in terms of lifestyle intervention for people, exercise. And this is just to give you, again, to illustrate the point about our sort of pull through from early phase research right the way through to implementation, nice guidance. And they're sort of the projects that we have currently within the sort of pantheon of what the Biomedical Research Unit is about. So essentially, governance and management structure is kind of the foundation that we're building upon. As Rob's already alluded to previously, we're really keen to work with other biomedical research units in the patch because there are huge synergies in terms of what we're trying to achieve together. That's obviously a very particular thing for lifestyle interventions and physical activity. And that's ultimately what we're about. So things that can enable us to do that, Brisket platform being one, and obviously again, we've probably got more questions than we've got answers, but we're quite happy to carry on that dialogue with Brisket and with partners in biomedical research units in Leicester. I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Tim, looks like we've just got one question.
Yeah, fantastic presentation there, Tim. Thanks. I was just thinking, given that most people carry around mobile phones, is there anything in a mobile phone that would be really useful for your research? I'm thinking of accelerometers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I saw an application the other day that used the camera to look at your face and detect changes in the blood. Is it the blood? The colour of your face. So it tells you whether you're going to have a heart attack or not.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, the short answer is yes. So two apps that you're probably familiar with, My Food Circle, look it up on Google Play, or MyFitnessPal, are both kind of like tools broadly in the area of lifestyle research that we have kind of looked at, but would like to be able to push on a little bit further so that they could become quite a useful research tool. Again, in terms of accelerometers and measuring physical activity, yeah, the app thing is what we're looking at because of the young sort of adult scenario that we're trying to sort of get involved with. There's been talk about GPS as well, but obviously GPS doesn't work when you're inside. So yes, is the short answer.